Gold has held a unique cultural and economic significance in India for thousands of years, woven into weddings, religious festivals, and family savings in a way that few other countries can match. For most of the 20th century and into the early 21st, this deep cultural attachment made India the undisputed largest consumer of gold anywhere on the planet, even as the country's overall economy remained relatively modest by global standards. China, meanwhile, told a very different story. For decades, private gold ownership and trading in China were tightly restricted by the state, and the country's gold market remained small and heavily controlled. That began to change gradually through the 1980s and accelerated dramatically as China's economic reforms opened the country to private wealth and investment. By 2009, China's total gold consumption had reached 462 tons, already making it the world's second-largest gold market behind only India, with Chinese demand growing at a blistering 13% annually in the years leading up to that point. The two countries continued to run neck and neck through the early 2010s, with India still narrowly ahead at 864 tons in 2012, compared to China's 807 tons that same year. Then, in 2013, everything changed. Chinese gold demand surged to over 1,000 tons for the first time, while India's demand actually fell, partly because of the Indian government's own deliberate policy. Worried about a widening current account deficit driven partly by gold imports, officials imposed higher customs duties and strict import quotas, specifically to curb the country's gold appetite. The combination proved decisive. China officially overtook India in 2013 to become the world's largest gold consumer for the very first time in the modern era, a title it has held in most years ever since. China's continued growth reflected gold's expanding role there not just as jewelry, but increasingly as a trusted store of value for a growing middle class wary of volatile stock and property markets. Yet India never faded from the picture. Remarkably, in 2024, India clawed back at least part of its old crown, reclaiming the title of the world's largest consumer of gold jewelry specifically, with 563 tons compared to China's 511 tons in that category, even as China's broader total demand, including investment bars and coins, remained substantial. Beyond these two giants, a handful of other nations carved out their own significant corners of the global gold market. The United States and Germany built large, steady bases of investment demand for gold bars and coins, particularly during periods of economic uncertainty, while Turkey and Saudi Arabia maintained deep cultural jewelry traditions of their own, and Russia's demand increasingly reflected central bank strategy as much as consumer taste. But none of them have ever come close to matching the sheer scale of India and China, which together now consume more gold in a single year than every other nation on Earth combined, a rivalry that continues to shift back and forth with every swing in gold prices, government policy, and cultural tradition.